call this. So I'd like for y'all, everyone to put their phones on vibrate or turn them off, whichever. And then once you've done that, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Councilor Miera,
Sir.
are you here?
Present.
Councilor Woolman,
Here.
Councilor Knight,
Here.
Councilor Burkett,
Here.
Councilor Murray.
You betcha.
Is John Alsabrook online?
Yeah.
Councilor,
I am.
all right, we got you. Okay, so the governing body is present. I have one change on the agenda before I need a motion. I'll do it beforehand. And that's a date that we talked about last time that was apparently inadvertently missed. It should be August 23rd for our next meeting at 6:30 PM. Does anybody have a problem with that? Okay, so that's the change I want to make. Now I could use a motion to approve the agenda in a second, please.
Mayor, I move. Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Bill Woolman and a second from Stuart Murray to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So now we have the administrator's report.
First person I want to call on, of course, is Tanya.
Absolutely.
Hello, thank you, Council, Mayor, and Administrator Curry. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but let's start off with an update. 11 deaths today and 5 cases in Corrales. Corrales had 9.62% of all Sandoval County cases. Sandoval had 52 cases. We do not have close to 10% of the population. Our daily average right now for January, wow, July is 3.42 cases per day, which is up almost 0.2% from last month for June. Deaths, the running 7-day deaths, and they're not telling me if they're old deaths or new deaths, but I do know a lot of backlog has already been taken care of. 7-day for this last 7 days was 92. The previous 7 days was 126. Our deaths were going up. We had a couple of days where we were having in the 30s in deaths. Hospitalizations are also been up. We're almost at 200. Based on what I'm seeing online, we will be over 200 hospitalizations tomorrow. We really need to remember layers of protection. If you don't have your series of vaccine completed, you need to complete it. If you're not boosted, if you're over 50, you should have 4 shots as long as the last one was 4 months ago. You should get it. People are being reinfected. Previous cases of COVID are not providing good protection from BA.5. And there's a cumulative effect they're finding in the research on long COVID, that each time you get COVID, either it could be worse or your long-term effects could be worse. There's a new study out that's showing MRI changes in the brain, increased risk for heart attack and stroke every time you get COVID. It's up to like almost 3% for heart attack and stroke for anyone who has had COVID. And we need to be thinking of those around us that are at risk. We do have immune compromised people, and anyone over 65 is at risk just by age. Everything else can be perfect, the age alone. So we need to be thinking about those layers of protection, staying up to date. If you need your 4th shot or your 5th shot, if you're immune compromised, it's not going to stop you from getting an Omicron specific variant booster later on when they come out. So definitely think about getting those done. And of course, we're still vaccinating in Corrales. Those layers of protection for the cumulative effects, and we are getting people who are being reinfected. I know several people who've had COVID at least twice. Some have had it 3 times now. Most of those are unvaccinated. Our death is still highest in the unvaccinated population. However, at Corrales, 1/3 of us are in Corrales are over 65. We are an at-risk population, so we need to be looking at that. On the monkeypox line, we are still with 7 cases in Corrales, but nationwide, we're the 2nd highest country with cases right now, over 3,000. 13 of those are women, and we do have 2 children now that have monkeypox from familiar contacts. It is a good fomite. So meaning wearing someone else's jacket or clothing. They are hoping to release another 250,000 Genosis vaccines soon, which should give us a larger allotment in New Mexico. I've been getting calls today about where to get monkeypox vaccine. So, but they're not releasing it right now to general public. They're really still doing ring vaccination. I will be happy to answer any questions, but please think about those layers of protection. Masking is still good. Outside is still good. Vaccination is very good. Any questions for me?
Mayor, this is Councilor Murray.
Oh, sorry, I was waiting for her to finish. Yes, Murray.
Thank you, councilors. So Tanya, how's the children? Are they showing up more and more? Are the parents, bringing their children by?
So for vaccines, we were the second highest in the state. We actually got a shout out on the last DOH update for providing vaccine. We were the second highest in the state. We had done 12.4% of all vaccines in the state. So that's all the providers. I think that's pretty good for little Corrales to do that many. We've had people return from Taos. I explained to them they could get their vaccine possibly for their second vaccine up in Taos since they got their first one, and they drove back down from Taos. So we're still having a really good turnout. The big wave has ended, but we knew that would. We did order and get in today a freezer. So I already have the ultra low for the Moderna or for the Pfizer, a refrigerator for J&J and possibly Novavax. I haven't decided. It's not even released yet. But we could only store Moderna for 30 days. So for Moderna, if it's not frozen at a regular freezer temperature, it's only good in the refrigerator for 30 days. And right now, it kind of looks like Moderna may be on the leading edge of the variant booster. So we did order a freezer because in a freezer, Moderna is good for the life of the vaccine, which is about a year after manufacturing. Just depends on when you get it. So that came in today, so we can keep it in. Right now, I'm having to order vaccine every week or every other week for Moderna because we didn't have that freezer. And we've had a lot of parents who want the Moderna for their children because right now it's a 2-dose series. It's probably going to go to 3-dose, but it's a 2-dose series right now. And it's quicker because it's 4 weeks, first shot, and then 4 weeks later, second shot, maximum immunity 2 weeks after that. Pfizer, since it is 1 shot, 3 weeks later, another shot, then 8 weeks after the second shot. No matter when you get your second shot, if you wait 8 weeks to get that, it's still 8 weeks for your second shot. Then immunity is 1 week, maximum immunity is 1 week. So a lot of parents have been choosing the Moderna. So we want to be able to make sure we have that. We want to be able to hold boosters for everybody also for the fall.
So do we know, does APS or Rio Rancho school districts, are they requiring shots for school starts?
No schools are requiring shots before this. The other vaccines are required. COVID is not required. I have not seen the latest thing on if they're going to do anything, but if you're not vaccinated, I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing. If you're exposed but not vaccinated, then you're out for 5 days, full 6 days, because day 0 is the day you're exposed. If you're vaccinated, you get to stay, but you have to mask. I'm waiting to see what PED is going to do. But we've been getting more 5 to 11-year-olds in when I open up those clinics right now. Those parents, a lot of them are saying they were waiting till close to school to get their 3rd shot, so they had immunity going into school, and then hopefully they'll get the booster shot in the middle of the fall semester is what they're hoping.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, everyone.
So let me ask one last question.
Yes, sir.
What do you think would be the time frame for monkeypox vaccinations to be available for a community like Corrales?
So I was on a COCA call, which is a clinical outreach call today. They called an emergency call. It was supposed to be our COVID provider call today, and they canceled it so everyone could be on it. Phase 3 is when we're going to get more vaccine in, which, they're looking at 500,000 dosage, which is really only 250,000 people. They're hoping by the end of the year to have 1.6 million doses available, but you've got to divide that by 2 because it's a 2-dose vaccine. They are trying to get some studies done to see if you stretch it out, how much immunity you get from that first dose. They're also looking at if you do it intradermal instead of IM, some intradermal stuff has a better immune response. So it's really unclear when it's going to be something that the public can get, even though we're pretty sure we may already created an endemic situation here. Just not sure yet. You know, they've got to really look at the rodent population and see if it's going to be endemic. Maybe by the end of the year. Now, if it got really bad, there is the ACAM 2000, which is their traditional smallpox vaccine. But there's a lot of, sorry about the dogs. There's a lot of people that have psoriasis can't take that one. Immunodeficient people can't take that one. So it's still up in the air. And that was a question that was asked when we're going to phase 3 today. And they're like, hopefully soon, but we don't know. So, and I tried doing some research on that for one of the people who was calling me today, and it's just not out there yet.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, anybody? Thank you, Tanya. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the next thing I just want to mention a couple of items. We'll be pursuing an administrative meeting on the interior drain to try to wrap up our JPA between us and the Conservancy District. We have some questions, they have some questions, and getting this JPA in place is important so that we can go forward and start some planning and getting that in place so we can use the $150,000 for planning that Senator McKenna put in place for us. So we hope to put that meeting together in the next couple of weeks with the Conservancy District.
Okay.
The other thing is that we continue to work on Meadowlark on the trail. We've had 10 residents that we have to contact and get agreement. We've gotten agreement, outright agreements to do anything that we need to from 2. We were missing contacts from about 3. And so it's going to be a process. It's going to be kind of a slog to get through. We know that there are a couple of residents that have some issues that we're going to have to spend a little more time on than the others. But we're going to go through it, and it's hopefully we won't run into a stumbling block that's too terribly difficult to overcome, but it's a little more challenging. It's a little more challenging than I thought it would be at the outset, but we're making contact and we're moving forward, and that's about all I've got there.
Okay. All right. Didn't like to hear about a slog. Okay, so now we move on to the Counselors Forum. Does anyone have any specific thing that they would like to discuss that's not on tonight's agenda? Okay, well then we'll move on to Corralenos Forum.
All right, first up tonight, we have Mr. Kurt Flora. Mr. Flora, if you could state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
560 Andrews Lane, Corrales, New Mexico. As you see, every week I'm here to expose the corruption that's happened in Corrales in the last 4 years, and it continues today. We still haven't gotten any further than we are 4 years ago. Tonight, we're going to concentrate on what is line right here, falsified meeting minutes. That's line 3 on that board right there. Right here are all the meeting minutes that my wife and I transcribed word for word that happened in the meeting per the recordings. Right here are Lori Stout's written minutes that do not come close to what was really said in the meeting minutes in the meeting. We have her changing words around. We have her adding words. We have her in one sentence even putting in parentheses, he or they wanted to wait till the net versus gross was worked out before we illegally forced an illegal resubmittal on the application. Now, in 2 different places on a summary plat, she stated the village wanted to wait to resubmit the application. And in the meeting itself, where she puts in parentheses in that meeting, it clearly states, we want to wait till the net versus gross is worked out before we force this resubmittal on. So her meeting minutes are falsified. Okay, that brings up the November 14th meeting. After the November 14th meeting, there was what's called other business. In other business, it states right here, sometimes the system, the automatic transition system, the automatic typewriting machine that does the thing, does have a problem. We can't promise that will never happen, but it hasn't happened in 8 months. This is Chair Staley stating this. So how did all these meeting minutes, how are they wrong? If the transcribed machine is not making them wrong, it is what has happened is they were personally done falsified. If you look at all these right here, everything I have in yellow was taken out of the written minutes. Okay. In this meeting here, everything in yellow, I don't know if you can all see that, but everything in yellow was left out of the written minutes. Almost everything that Commissioner Salinas states was left out purposely,
Thank you, Mr. Flora. That's your time.
including part of the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Flora.
And next we
Okay.
have Mr. Richard Groff. And sir, if you could state your name and address for the record. You'll also have 3 minutes.
My name is Richard Groff. I live at 313 Perfecto Lopez Road in Corrales. You may recognize the name, Groff Lumber. I want to bring up 3 items. First, I wish to thank the governing body for approving my appointment to the Corrales Senior Center Advisory Commission, although we call ourselves a board, but I guess that's not an issue. I also want to let you know that for about 16 years, I've been going up and down Meadowlark Lane on Monday evenings, up at about 4:30 and down at about 6:30. And during those 16 years, I think I've seen 2 bicyclists on Loma Larga Hill. That leads me to the conclusion that he who wants a bicycle path up the Loma Larga Hill should pay for it. And that would be the American Association of Bicycle Riders or a similar title. We could give them permission to build their path and they could build it if they want to. But I think it's a waste of money. You only see 2 cyclists in 16 years. And one guy was just pushing his single speed bicycle up because it was too steep to ride it. The other guy had a 10-speed. So if you decide to go ahead, I have some comments. I think the bicycle path should be compacted asphalt about 2 feet wide and offset on the south side by about 2 feet. You don't need a curb to define the edge of the pavement. If you can look at the bike paths along Loma Larga, those are white painted lines. I think the equestrians should be also on the south side because if they're on the north side, as they approach the lane along Thompson fences, land is sidling. I wouldn't want to ride my horse on that. And I don't see us have to put in an expensive retaining wall, which is what Rio Rancho has done. And by the way, I've never seen anybody on their bike path. And let me tell you, they spent a lot of money on a 3-tier retaining wall, which was wasted money, in my opinion. Enough of that. Now, we cut down the cottonwood trees out in our parking lot. And when I went over to get my booster, I noticed we have a really nice structure holding solar panels. I propose that we build a structure in our parking lot between the 2 light posts where the cottonwood trees used to be, and build it high enough so that people can park under it. And the power generated by those solar panels would run the refrigerated air conditioners and the lights in the senior center. And perhaps
That's your
also
time.
put some power into the grid for the use of the rest of this complex. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Thank you. And that's everyone for the Corvallis Forum.
Okay, so we'll move on to new business. First thing is consideration action approval of resolution 22-45 authorizing year-end adjustments of various funds for fiscal year 2021-22. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution 22-45?
Mayor, I move we approve resolution 22-45.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Anybody have any questions, concerns? If not, then let's have a vote. Counselor Miera,
Yes, sir.
Counselor Woolman,
Aye.
Counselor Knight,
Aye.
Counselor Burkett.
Aye.
Counselor Murray,
Aye.
Counselor also Brooke.
Aye.
Very good, sir. So number two, consideration action approval of resolution 22-46, declaration of emergency conditions in the village of Kraus due to COVID-19. As we are just heard from our emergency director, Tanya Lawton, this COVID is not going away. We need to be focused on trying to fight this every way we can. We're going to extend this another 30 days. I would like a motion to approve resolution 22-46.
I move we approve resolution 2246.
Counselor Knight, I have a second.
I'll second that.
Counselor Burkett. Is there any question, discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Counselor Woolman.
Mayor, I believe the resolution indicates effective until the 11th day of October.
Well, it's more than 30 days, whatever the time limit was. I don't,
90. Tanya says 90.
90? Okay. The 30 days is for the fireworks, sorry. But we need to get them done so that they fall, so that the resolution falls within the time frame allowed. Okay, if there's nothing else, then how about a vote? Counselor also Brooke,
I vote aye.
Counselor Murray,
Aye.
Counselor Burkett,
Aye.
Counselor Knight,
Aye.
Counselor Woolman,
Aye.
Counselor Miera.
Yes, sir.
All right, resolution 22-46 is approved. The next is consideration action approval of resolution 22-47, extending the fireworks restrictions in the village of Corrales. And I know we just did this the last meeting, but we have, in order to have it fall within the time frame to cover August 23rd, we have to do it again. Does anybody have any, do I have a motion to approve in a second?
Mayor, I move that we approve 22-47.
How about a second?
Second.
So I have a motion from Counselor Murray and a second from Counselor Woolman. Is there any question or discussion? Yes, sir.
Just one question. Is our intent to perpetually extend this, or when are we looking at removing this?
Well, it could be a long time because the drought is persisting and we still have an issue with potential fires in the bosque and in the village. And probably when the governor says, hey, it's okay, guys, you don't need to worry about a fire.
So I guess my next question is, why are we limiting it to fireworks instead of any sort of incendiary device?
I think most of the other devices are already in our ordinances. You know, like smoking, driving cars, different things that can cause fires in the bosque.
Okay, so
And
everything else is already.
and right now, the big deal is fireworks because, I mean, we had, just now had the July 4th holiday. We're getting ready to have Labor Day. We're getting, just probably sometime, and I would say could be October, November, whenever the weather changes or we get some moisture.
Right.
And when perhaps the state says it's okay.
Would it be worth,
And
Maybe.
also when our fire chief says it's okay.
right? Would it be worth maybe making this permanent regulation and then come 4th of July every year, we waive it for one
Okay.
day?
We can't do that. And I'm going to let Melanie explain to you what we already have done in the past to try to see if we could do that.
Yeah,
And we were told no.
we had an online meeting with the municipal league and Mayor Fahey was very nice and said, can we just ban these outright? And they said no. So I guess the best we can do is restrict them for a time period and just renew that restriction.
It's
So
interesting.
that's why this rolling 30 days, because that's our limit. We can only do 30 days.
Right, it's interesting though, we can permanently do cigarettes and barbecues and anything else that starts a fire, but this one thing is protected.
You know, I can't explain it. Apparently the fireworks people have somebody's ear.
Right.
I mean, I don't want
Fireworks
to accuse
lobby is strong
anybody
in New
of
Mexico.
doing something like that, but you know, perhaps.
Yeah, go to Missouri.
Anthony, did you want to make any comment? Because Anthony deals with this every day.
Mayor, thank you. Counselor. So we do have a standing ordinance that's really restrictive as far as fireworks go. But we're still having an issue with fireworks being ignited recently. So this is just our way of just making sure it's a window like right before 4th of July and then usually, you know, a week or 2 weeks after, but we still have a lot of fireworks going off in the village of Corrales. So I feel that, you know, this is the best option for us to just, you know, reinforce that, you know, you're lighting these fireworks, they're close to our bosque, we're in a wildland urban interface. But we do have a real pretty strict ordinance on fireworks in general.
Okay. So more than anything, this is just keeping us talking about it. So it's front of mind for people.
Yeah,
Okay.
and as you can see, I mean, we're still in kind of a drought and exceptional drought, so we're kind of playing that. We have allowed, you know, some open burning, following the burning rules with small little, you know, confined, controlled fires. But we're in the process, if we don't start getting moisture, we're gonna ban that under the fire chief's authority. That way, if we get rain, then we can lift it again. But we have a lot of citizens, you know, we're an agricultural community, and they're really trying to do their part in trying to keep their yards, you know, maintained and the ditches flowing when we have water in them. And we encourage, you know, citizens of Corrales to do their part to clean up their property with all the weeds and stuff. That helps, you know, prevent the spread of fire. So, but thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks.
Prevention is the best treatment here. I mean, if we get a fire in the bosque, you know, it's becomes a burnt matchstick. I mean, it's just a mess. We could be like northern New Mexico, California, just burn us up. So we need to try to prevent as much of that as possible. Okay, so how about a vote? I'm going to call on Councilor Alsobrook again. Councilor Alsobrook, what do you think?
Vote aye. I had to find the unmute button. So yeah, aye.
Okay, how do you vote? I didn't hear you.
Oh, hey, I approve. Yes, aye.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Councilor Miera,
Yes, sir.
Councilor Woolman.
Aye.
Councilor Knight,
Aye.
Councilor Burkett,
Aye.
and Councilor Murray.
Aye.
Okay. So now we move on to number 4, consideration action approval of resolution 22-48, final quarter financial report, the year ending June 30th, 2022. This is actually the reason we're having this meeting tonight, is so that we have time to get all this stuff in, you know, before it's due. And we didn't get all the information from the state in order to do all this. Does anybody have any, first of all, let me have a motion to approve the resolution in a second, if possible.
Motion, we approve 2248.
Okay, how about a second?
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilor Burkett and a second Councilor Knight. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir, Stuart.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Councilors. Yeah, one question on page 22, I think it is. Let me make sure I'm in the right spot. There is, bottom line, it says excess of revenues over expenditures of $4 million and change. And I presume that that will come out of the audit in December, you know, where this money was, either is it part of the budget or is it really in excess that we have sitting in the bank? Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah, it's under actuals year to date.
Yeah.
$4,012,790. This has been a very good year for the village.
Yeah, I agree.
And we're going to keep this money on hand until, I think you said, the end of the year. Is that correct, Raina?
Around December 15th.
Yeah. Because if we start moving it around a lot,
Yeah.
it's not a good thing to do, because we may need it for matches, we need it for other.
Was this even allocated into the budget, or is it just actually $4 million that we got in the bank sitting there?
So Mayor, Council, I'm not seeing page 22 right now.
Okay, it was,
But if it's, if 22 is the whole
yeah, the whole package.
thing, the answer is no, because that includes all of the funds, general fund plus all your special funds. So that is not necessarily our money.
It's under capital projects is the heading.
So
Yeah, page 9 of 17 probably of your report.
9 of
is that the
7?
now amount of
That's what
money?
it says on the bottom on the facts.
There you go.
Yeah.
Here's this. yeah.
I believe, Stuart, I believe that's what's in the bank.
So this is just money that's accumulated for various projects and it's sitting there waiting to be used.
This is money that's accumulated from revenue.
Okay,
It was not spent.
okay.
Additional revenue that was not spent. That wasn't in the budget.
Correct. So if you want to know what exactly you have before the audit, there's the first page that looks like this.
Okay,
It's that first line. That's your general fund. So it would be revenues minus expenditures and minus the transfers is what you have this year. So the total would be about 2.1 million, little over 2.1.
Could you repeat that, Raina? I didn't quite catch it.
So it would be revenue minus expenditures and transfers. So the total is about 2.1, 2.164.
Okay, all right,
Again, this is before audit numbers.
right.
Final numbers will be around December 15th.
In December.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's sort of why we don't want to be moving it around too much.
thank you.
So like I think somebody asked me one time about, or what are we going to do with this excess money? Are we going to send it to LGIP? And I think I may have said, yeah, we'll go ahead, but we won't do it right away. We'll wait till it's audited and we're sure it's okay. And then we'll make plans for how to deal with it. Yes, Mel.
Thank you, Mayor. Is this the $4 million that was discovered a couple years ago, or is this different?
That's
It's
totally
different.
different. What I just explained is this year. That's
So
your
just this
excess
year.
in this year.
Okay, thank
We
you.
just got 2 million more this year in revenue.
Yes, Will.
There, Serena, so this money then is not at this point obligated. Is that correct?
Correct. Because what we've budgeted for next year is for whole new revenues.
We'll use a bunch of.
Okay. Any other questions? John, do you have a question?
No,
Okay, well, then let's vote. Counselor Murray, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor Burkett,
Aye.
Counselor Knight,
Aye.
Counselor Woolman.
Aye.
Counselor Miera,
Yes, sir.
Counselor also Brooke.
aye.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Raina. Okay, number 5 is approval of the U1 schedule, U8 schedule, and the Raina, don't go anywhere. And the fixed asset inventory. Now, it's my understanding that the U1 schedule are things that are under construction. And the U8 is depreciation.
That's correct.
And the fixed asset inventory is just all the stuff we have, roads and buildings and this is primarily for the auditors.
Correct.
Okay. It doesn't have any impact on how much money we have or what we spend.
Basically, what I need approved today is our capital asset listing is what we get approved by council yearly. So department heads gather their inventory and that's what's in front of you. The U1 and the U8 don't necessarily have to get approved. I leave it in there for transparency because I submit the whole package to the auditors. And I also noticed that whenever we turned this in, it didn't come out right on PDF. So if you would like to see each department, we actually submitted it to Melanie and she could show you now if you would like to see what the capital asset listing looks like.
Did you have a question, Stuart?
Well, that was, yeah, when I was looking at it, it was confusing because of all the printout wasn't across the board and So, if you're going to send something like that out, send it in an Excel file where we can see it on an entire page or something like that. That would be my only comment for future.
Okay,
I mean, there's ways to protect the file so that, nobody get in there and monkey with it. So,
you're sure of that?
well, it's Microsoft. I'm never sure of anything.
Yeah, right. Okay,
Trust and verify.
yes. Okay, anybody else have a question? I wouldn't even know, the majority of this, I wouldn't even know what to ask, tell you the
I wouldn't
truth. So,
Mayor, I think we ought to approve the U1, U8 fixed inventory list.
okay, so I have a second. I have a motion and a second. Counselor Murray made the motion and Counselor Miera made the second. All those in favor of the approval of the U1 schedule and U8 schedule and fixed asset inventory, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay, it passed. It's approved.
Thank you.
So now the big question. Approval of real estate purchase agreement between Alan R. Gonzalez et al. And the Village of Corrales. I would like to get a motion for the approval of this real estate purchase agreement first, and then we can have a discussion.
I move.
Move.
I'll move it second.
I have a motion from Counselor Knight and a second from Counselor Murray. Okay, discussion.
We do have one person that would like to
Okay.
comment from the public. Mr. Hashimoto? You can state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
What do you do? I'm Fred Hashimoto. I live at 485 East La Entrada in Corrales. Mr. Mayor and Council, assuming that you all approve the purchase agreement between the Gonzalez family and the village for the purchase of the 3 acres and the associated water rights, I and others would like to say thank you. And I'd like to introduce some people in this room who have been part of this project for the last 4.5 years. We have Ken Dukert, Don Walsh, Carol Conboy, John Thompson. We've been writing, we've been talking, we've been meeting, we've done all this stuff for 4.5 years. We're glad that it's come to this point. We feel that the journey's been tortuous and somewhat long, but the outcome is it's a strategic piece of Corrales' future, and that's why we're so excited about it. Anyway, we all would like to make some specific thank yous to the council that served in the last administration and the council that's currently serving. We'd like to thank you. We'd like to thank Mayor Fahey for your support of this. We'd like to thank Administrator Curry. He's been vital. He's served under 2 different administrations, and he has really been a player in this. We'd like to thank Raina. She has told us, hey, you can do this, you can finance it. The village is doing okay. We'd like to thank clerks Aaron and Melanie, who have also played a part. So we're very grateful for this. Although the journey has been long, I said, the outcome is fantastic. And although we'd like to thank Alan Gonzalez of the Gonzalez family, because he has been interfacing with the village to try to make this happen. And although this 3 acres right now, just across the street, is a piece of dirt and maybe some grasses, it is so key for the village. It's so key for the village's strategic future. And for that strategic future and for the people of Corrales, we would like to thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Did you want to say anything? So I'm going to have the administrator talk because he spent most of the time discussing this and dealing with Mr. Gonzalez. And he has a lot of insight.
Thank you, Mayor. I just give you a brief synopsis of some of the things that have gone over the last 12 to 14 months. Going forward, when the idea first came into a position where we could actually start to deal with it, one of the things that was key into it was making contact with Alan Gonzalez and his wife Janice. And just as a footnote, they look forward to coming to the council sometime in the near future to express their appreciation going forward as to the work that has been done. They had a family obligation tonight, and I'll let Alan tell you that when he comes in front of the meeting. But Mayor Roque played a very key part in this as far as putting us together and sitting down in some of the first meetings that we had with Alan and his family. And one of the nice things about this, and I've discussed this with some of you as we've gone forward, is that we've had a very cordial and trusting relationship with the Gonzalez family. And he's made it very clear to us that his biggest challenge was kind of reining in and wrangling his relatives into this, his aunts and some of his other relatives. And until we got very serious about this, I would say about 6 or 7 months into the negotiations, he had not even heard from one of his aunts out in California. And so finally, when there's some adequate pressure that was put on by him as he went forward on this with some assistance from the village, she did make an appearance, not an appearance, but she popped up. And then he started working on the rest of the family to get the necessary signatures. And one of the things I would say, and I've discussed this with Alan, is that he's very much a gentleman in his negotiations. And he would always say to me, he said, well, you know, Ron, I'm not much of a negotiator on certain things, but I just have one more question. And we went about our negotiations that way. And I think it's a tribute to his style, and he served his family well. But he was always citing his dad, Hector, and the fact that his dad wanted this land to go to the village of Corrales. And he stood faithful for that, stood true to that in his work and his discussions. And so it was a pleasure working with him. And he and I would talk very frequently. And so he called me up rather hurriedly. It was about a little over a week ago, I think, Melanie. And he said, I want to come visit you because I've got the 7 signatures. And he was surprised. And so he came to Village Hall, I believe it was last Tuesday. And Mayor was here when he came, and he brought all the paperwork that you had in your packets that you see that we assembled. And sometime going forward, we took a nice picture that commemorates that in the agreement that we had, that he would turn something over to me, and he and I would both have a signature that we would sign. And so he and his wife Janice and myself and Mayor Fahey did that little ceremony and commemorated it. So that is where we're at now. And like I said, it's been a pleasure working with him. Now we're going forward, and there will be some things that we still have to do. We're about, I would say 90, and Randy can correct me on this. So I'd say we're about 92% down the road. And one of the things that Randy's going to do in the way of doing the proper due diligence for the village is that we will submit this, or he has attorneys, some of his associates will be working with the Department of Finance and Administration to make sure that the village has not done anything that would cause us to say that we're paying more for the property than it's worth. And I don't think that will be the case, but it's just another step that we will take as we go forward into the title company, and they do the searches that they have to do to make sure that the title is clear and the signatures that we've received from Alan have the proper legacy or line of transmission that we need to have. And Alan is very meticulous as he's gone forward with this, and I feel confident that it will go well. But it's, I can't emphasize enough how good a relationship that we've had with each other as we went forward with this. And it's been a pleasure to make it happen. So that's my synopsis, and I'll answer any questions you have, but that I would ask Randy to kind of give us a little bit of a roadmap as to where we go next.
So counselors and members of the public, Ron covered the next steps ahead pretty well. But one of the things that we have
to take into consideration in this matter is this property has come down through a family. And we believe that Mr. Gonzalez, Alan Gonzalez, has come forward with all the appropriate signatures of the current owners of the property. But that may become an issue before closing. And we will review all of that and ensure that all of those things are in order. The other thing that we have a right to do is to do inspections of the property prior to closing as in any normal real estate transactions. So we will be undertaking that due diligence as well. And so what we're hoping, the purchase agreement states that we're hoping to check all those boxes. And if all of those things are in order, then we're hoping the closing is done by about mid-October. That's the timeline that we can look at to have this completed. If there are any problems along the way, we'll of course inform you of that.
Yes, anybody who's purchased property understands there are a lot of steps you have to go through. Yes, Stuart.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilors. I just want to thank you, Ron, and I'd like to thank the Gonzalez family. I think I hope we earn their trust of what we do with the property and we use it well. And anyway, I'm looking forward to completing this project. I know it's been a long-term and long process to do this, but I think we're doing the right thing for the village and for the residents. And anyway, thank you for your attention, Mayor. Thank you for your help too, Mayor Rourke. I think it's been important that we keep the Gonzalez family informed, and I'd like to meet them too. Come think of it.
There's going to probably be a point in time that he'll come. And, we can certainly say thank you personally at that time. Councilor Waldman.
Yes, Mayor, once Randy finishes with his magic and getting this done. And again, I want to thank all of you as well for doing this. The appropriate time, how do we proceed in terms of the use for this property? Will we have with community input? What's your thought about how we are going to look at this?
Well, I think we have a lot of entities that are interested in doing something, and I think they're going to probably relay that information to you guys as the Corralanos will. And I think I actually included this in the mayor's message. You haven't seen it yet, but I think that everybody's going to tell you what they want to do with it. And it's going to be a matter of going through and seeing what are the best uses for this property for the village of Corrales. I mean, some of the things I have heard is enlarging the park, having a parking lot, for a public parking area, having a heritage tree park, things like that. But we just have to look, and we're going to have to survey it. We're going to have to probably replat it if we're going to do any of those things. I don't know that I can't recall someone talking about building a structure on it, but that may even come up. Yeah, I think we should be open to all suggestions and evaluate each one and collect as much information and data about those. This is a huge investment for the village. Now, fortunately, we do have the money to cover it, but it's still a big investment. This is just like you buy a piece of property to build your house. And we're going to have to go through the same hoops that you go through. In fact, a few more. I'm sure Raina will let us know a few more to get it okayed. All right.
Good, thank you.
So I would like to ask for your approval of this real estate. Oh, excuse me.
Just one more side note that Melanie reminded me of, and it's that we had an agreement in the package that we'd given with the offer that he had to sign this agreement and get it back to me, and I would sign for the village. But the agreement was actually signed, this particular initial agreement was signed the day after Hector's birthday. And so Alan brought that up just as kind of a family pat on the butt to Hector, I think. So.
Okay. So I would like to have a motion to approve this real estate purchase agreement.
We did.
We think we have that.
We already did. Oh, that's right. We did that before we had our discussion. Sorry. Okay, let's have a vote then. Counselor Alsobrook, would you like to vote first?
I would, and I wholeheartedly vote yes.
Counselor Murray,
Aye.
Counselor Burkett,
Aye.
Counselor Knight,
Aye.
Counselor Woolman,
Aye.
and Counselor Miera.
Yes, sir.
So we have approved the real estate purchase agreement between Alan R. Gonzalez and the Village of Corrales. So do you guys have your checkbooks?
Post-dated checks are okay, correct?
I
I'm
put
teasing, I'm
put my check in the
Obviously,
mail.
I'm teasing. Okay, so do you have any future agenda items you would like to bring up? I mean, we have a whole list over at the office, and I'm certainly aware whenever you guys send me an email to add to that list. We have a number of things we've already kind of tentatively penciled in for September, so for August, excuse me. But Counselor Murray, do you have anything special?
sir.
Counselor Woolman? Counselor Knight, Counselor Burkett, Counselor Murray. Okay. Counselor Woolman, we are going to try to have something regarding the animal services facility. It takes a long time to get things done, like, for example, the site development plan.
Yeah.
We don't even know how much space we're going to have. But we're moving forward. Yes, sir.
On that note, I was reading over some of the notes from planning and zoning meeting from, a couple times back, and they're extensive and detailed. Is there any way to short circuit the time frame of getting on their agenda? I was talking to Melanie, and apparently it's 40 days. We have 3 days.
The answer is no.
40. Is
The
there any-
answer is no.
It's because of
Interesting.
public
We have to
notice.
follow our own ordinances. We have to do it the way it's supposed to be done. So therefore, we cannot short circuit. I mean, it would be all over the front page of every newspaper in town.
At least the one newspaper.
Yeah, at least the one.
Right.
So no, we have to do it by the book, dot our i's, cross our t's, and do everything appropriately. We may have to ask for a variance, and so we don't want to automatically, contaminate the water, so to speak. We don't know that yet. We don't have any ideas yet. But once we have a site development plan, you guys will know right after planning and zoning does.
On the meeting on the 20, I'm sorry, Randy.
No, just to clarify too, we need to keep in mind as we go through this process, anytime that we are the applicant for something, it's a very delicate situation because we are in an awkward position. We're the applicant, but we are also the governing body who approves it. So we have to take off one glove and put on the other. And so we just got to do it very carefully.
Okay. Okay.
When the thoughts are presented on the 23rd, since there is a requirement for a site development plan, will there be more than one option at that point? Do we know at this point?
More
In
than one
terms of
option?
location?
No. No. Anybody else? Okay. Since we have completed the agenda, this meeting is adjourned.